Good morning, you are listening to me Night live on Represent. I'm joined by a very special guest. Please welcome my special guest, Mr. Dean Forbes. Can I have some noise in the studio? Wait.
Hey.
I have to say, first of all, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving up your time, because I know there's not many hours in the day and there's not many hours in your schedule. So thank you for joining me.
No, my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
There's a lot I can say to describe you, but when I think of you, I just think of success, hard work, and black excellence with this emoji. With this emoji here. So I think it's very important that you're here because of how well you have done in your life, from your upbringing, from where you've come from, and to where you are today. But for those who are tuning in thinking, who is this man?
Who's this guy?
Who is this?
It's a random guy.
Tell us a bit about yourself, Mr. Forbes.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So I run a software company. I'm a technology CEO. Company I'm running at the moment, we sold that company for €1 billion.
Gee, say that louder for the ones in the back. Not a million.
Yeah, a billion.
A billion. Are you going to change your name to Billions, bro?
Nah, my friends would never let that happen. Could never do that around my friends. So yeah, I run a software company. I'm in the investment game, buying into technology companies, and we run Forbes Family Group, which is a company my wife and I set up to try and, put some good energy back into the community.
I love that. A man of many talents. So I want to talk about, if we were to strip it back, because I feel like in this game, I mean, you're a Southeast Londoner.
Yep. Born
And
raised.
you make no problem of actually making people aware that that's where you're from. That's where you will still rep to this day.
Yeah.
So what was life like growing up for yourself?
Yeah, I grew up in between Lewisham and Peckham. It's funny being here today in Brixton because, when you're coming off the yellow brick in Peckham, one place you don't go is Brixton. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, we lived on an estate most of our lives, and we dealt with everything that came with that. We didn't have much money. Me and my mum and my brother just had to make that work. My brothers more so than me. They had their little flirts with the law and people from other areas. We all know how that all goes. So yeah, it was difficult, but I'm very, very grateful to that upbringing and background, because that's made me quite resilient and able to deal with a lot of things that have happened to me in life later on.
That in itself is just so key, because I feel like a lot of people will see where they're from and where they're born and their economical backgrounds and think that they can't admit to nothing, whereas I feel like you change that status quo in the sense, because you're CEO you've been a CEO for multiple companies. It ain't just the one company. You started off Motorola call center, I believe.
That's right, yeah, cold calls, making cold calls.
Them cold calls now. If you know about the cold calls, they're so destroying.
That's a real tough upbringing, the cold call game.
That's a proper hustle. So how did you kind of work your way up from there?
Yeah, I was in a lot of debt because I finished playing football when I'd borrowed a lot of money, so I was in a lot of debt. So when my agent at the time was like, I got you a job at Motorola, I didn't really have a choice but to go there and try hard and do well, because I was in a lot of debt. But coming back to that situation about where we're from and how that makes us feel, I always say to people, that's like a superpower. Because you see what we deal with, growing up on our estates, all of the things, and some of the things in our culture that, aren't great, that we have to deal with and overcome. Do you know how strong that makes you when you step into the corporate world? Nothing can beat you when you come off of the block.
Yeah.
And now you're in the corporate world. There's nothing in the corporate world that's worse than what we see every day in our neighborhood. So you think that might put you at a disadvantage. To me, it put me at an advantage. And I always say to young people that is your advantage, that you're coming from that difficulty. So now you're ready for whatever the world throws at you.
I love that. How do you manage to keep yourself so forward thinking? Because I feel like in your career, you must have come across so many obstacles, which we can name a few, but generally speaking, how do you keep, because I feel like it's all in your mindset, and I feel like in the corporate world it is hard for black people, I personally think. That's just from my little taste of it. So how do you keep your mindset so driven and so looking at the big picture rather than the small little hiccups that you come across?
Yeah, I think that things happen to you in life all the time, and in work it's no different, right? You get people that try and get in your way, or situations that try and get in your way. I always thought to myself, the best thing I can do to deal with this obstacle is absolutely defeat it, just blow it out of the way. So this person who's trying to stop me from getting promoted or getting to the next step, the triumph I want is to be stood on the other side of that person, looking back at them saying, what are you saying? what are you saying now?
What's up, bro?
Your little game didn't work. I'm over here and you're over there. And I think that's the way to beat them things, man. Just step over them and look in the rearview mirror and keep powering on.
See, dropping gems this early in the interview. Make sure you got a pen and paper and thank me and Dean later, okay? I want to know, Dean, you've done so many things that we're going to go into a little bit later, but out of all of the things you've managed to accomplish, what would you say is one of your biggest achievements so far, and why?
Biggest achievement? I would say this powerless thing, man. Like number 2 on the power list, like of the top 100 black people in the UK, being named as number 2, like coming off of the estate, like being homeless, failing at football, everything I saw between, you know, my parents and things in my family growing up, to be sat here today, number 2 in the UK, like it's unreal. That's a
most
surreal feeling.
Influential black man. That's a big title.
Yeah.
That's something to go home to mum and be like, Mum, I made it.
Yeah, just go home and nudge my mum and say, see what we did.
I love that. I want to know, how do you manage to juggle business life with family life? Because obviously you've got a massive family. You are a father. You're a husband as well. Some big responsibilities there. How do you juggle it all?
Our family's the thing that keeps me grounded, man, because all of this stuff in the corporate world, you know, I've been lucky, you've been very successful, but you just bring it home to family, you just get normalized, you know, immediately. Like my mum is constantly telling me I need to try harder, I need to do a bit more, you know, I haven't quite achieved what she expects of me. My kids.
Your mum says that?
Yeah.
Wow.
She's always been like that. So it's just nice to go back into family and be humbled again, but also to see what the work like has done for your family. You know, how it's changed your family's life is also important. But yeah, I'm family at heart, so I'm never going to stray too far from that.
And it seems that's what kind of birthed, in a way, Forbes Family Group as well, because that seems like that is like the beginning of a foundation that's going to be long lasting. Yeah. What kind of was the inspiration behind it? What made you decide to start Forbes Family Group, and tell us a bit more about it?
So what made us start that was we got to a certain kind of point of success and like a really good financial situation. And it was like the better we did financially, the more people would call us and say, hey, do you want this opportunity to make more money or invest in this? Or I've got this investment opportunity for you. And me and my wife were just looking at it saying, like, we don't need these opportunities, right? There are people in our family or in our social setting who need these things, but they weren't being made available to those people because you had to be of a certain kind of net worth and all of that kind of stuff. Okay. So we set it up by saying, like, we would take those opportunities and then pass them on to our network and our social circle. It became difficult to do that, so we had to kind of pivot it into an organisation that's trying to provide networking and professional support for young people from the kind of backgrounds that we're from. So we're kind of going down the networking path and work readiness path.
I love it. Always doing so much, Dean. It's inspiring.
We're trying.
It's so inspiring, and you know you've done a lot in your career. I want to talk about first time that you got to that CEO position, because I feel like there's the stigma that black men can't be CEOs. Black people in general, there's not many. You want to inspire. I feel like that's what you try to do in your everyday, is inspire a lot of young people. So what was that feeling when because you've sold many companies? Yeah. Tell us a bit about the smirk. It's the smirk for me. Yes, own that. But let's talk about the first company that you sold, what that was like and what that experience was like for you.
Oh man, the first company we sold was...
And don't leave out any of the revenue.
First company we sold was Primavera. We sold Primavera for $550 million to a company called Oracle. And I remember that deal like it was yesterday, because that deal changed mine and my family's life, right? By that point, we had a number of shares in the company, so when it got sold, we did really well. And I remember not being able to sleep for 2 weeks. Wow. Preparing for all of the presentations and pitches, to get that deal done. So unbelievable deal. The guy that bought that company, a guy called Larry Ellison, at the time was the 8th richest man in the world, multi-billionaire. And I remember when we pitched him, he was so excited about buying our company to go and compete and win and beat other technology companies with our products. And I remember looking at him thinking, this guy's like worth, 25 billion, and he's still excited about going to work and competing and winning. And when I saw that kind of energy at like 25 billion, I was like, all right, you got to do harder, because this guy's not done. So you definitely got to press on. So that deal changed my life financially, but it also let me see a totally different side to the world, financially and from a career perspective as well.
So in a way, there's always room to improve, essentially, as well.
If you know, my Don's at 25 billion and he's still running hard, then what I got a long way to go.
$1 million is not enough.
Right, exactly.
I love that. And what has the response been like from your peers? Because I feel like there's always that, my favorite word of the day, clearly, stigma. Like, you see when you become successful and maybe some of the people around you maybe don't get as successful or aren't on the same kind of wavelength for you. Did that impact you in your personal life, the more that you know, were making these deals, getting these M's, selling these businesses?
That's been the hardest part of the journey, I would say. You know, I'm a very family oriented person, and over the years, like, a good handful of people who were close to me and who I grew up with, we're not close anymore. So in one sense, that's sad that those relationships are gone. In another sense, I always believed that you can't let people hold you back. So if those relationships weren't fulfilling and positive and helping me get to the next stage, then I'm probably better off without them, and they're probably better off without me. So I've kind of come to peace with it. Very happy with my family, very happy with my friendship circle. We're all on the same wavelength. We ain't got time for anybody else.
I love that. You have recently won the BOA Award, which is the Best of Africa Award.
Yeah.
Big things. Can I make some noise in the studio, please? Yes, that's a big thing. That's incredible. Can you tell us a bit about what the award stands for and how you're feeling being the winner of it?
That was unbelievable. That was absolutely unbelievable. Like, in two ways now, because when I was young, like, my parents are Caribbean, so when we were in school, we kind of were divided between the Caribbeans and the Africans.
Yes.
Right? It was like a division thing. And as I've grown, I've become more aware of my heritage and the fact that I'm African. You know, my lineage starts in Africa, comes to the West Indies and lands in England. So to be recognized in my industry, like the tech industry, is beautiful. To be recognized by us, right, by people of color who know what this situation and struggle is like, is unbelievable. So it was an award for, you know, my contributions to business. Anthony Joshua won the award for contributions to sport, so it was nice to be on the same platform with him and chop it up with him. Great guy, like, really nice guy. It was just amazing, really amazing. Celebrating
someone like Dean, super successful. And I'm not just saying that to blow your head up, don't get it twisted. I don't gas people up on my show. I'm just saying it because it's pure facts. How do you kind of separate, because I imagine as being a CEO and being a leader of a company and multiple companies, you know, when it comes to politics, you have to be, you can't really say too much, or you can't really express your own opinions. But how do you manage it? Because I feel like corporate and politics go hand in hand.
They do. And in the last few months, I've learned a lot about politics. I've learned a lot about politics. And we're saying off air that we got into a conversation about, you know, potentially running for Mayor of London in 2026, which at the time when that conversation started, it was well aligned with my aspirations, right? You want to use my position and everything I've been, you know, blessed with in business to put it to good work for people, for everybody in London, but of course, you know, people like us. So I really like that idea. But then as I got more and more exposed to politics and how it really works, I realized I just couldn't have an impact, actually. Like, being a politician, I don't think is a place where you can have an impact. I think being on community platforms like this one, being visible, talking to people, like actually talking to people and putting people on whenever I can is going to be a better way to be helpful than going into politics. So that, you know, that kind of dream or little aspiration of being Mayor of London, I realised it's not about ego or being stood up there as the Mayor of London. It's more about doing actual work that is actually helpful and making a difference. So we let that one go, and we don't want to be part of the Conservative Party either.
Is that what it have to be? Yeah. You'd be a great mayor, though.
Think so?
Yeah, definitely. I think so.
I think so too.
I think we need someone who just keeps it real and who kind of understands what people going through the struggle gets. And I feel like you do that. And one of the things I think that inspires me about yourself is you haven't let the money or the status change you. I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm a CEO, I'm better than you sort of vibe, which some people in power, they do change. You keep yourself authentic.
If I introduce you to my family or my friends, you understand why that is never an option. Like, I'm in my 40s.
Wifey keeps you in check.
I'd get punched up.
Shout out to wifey.
If my friends do, they would never tolerate any of that nonsense.
No.
We'd be straight back to estate behaviour immediately.
I love that, not the estate behaviour. So talking about family, friends in your personal life, what is a typical day in the life like for Dean?
Long. Long. So everybody thinking, oh, that, you know, that looks good and a breeze and, you know, like light work. No, days are long, but I love my work. So I'm normally up at 6, probably 3-4 days a week. I try to run or go on the bike.
Okay, exercise, that's important.
Yeah, got to. And then my day's full of meetings. You know, I don't like gaps in my day, so I like to have back-to-back meetings.
Really?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Don't do lunch, eat at the end of the day.
Seriously?
Yeah. I love it. I'm addicted to work.
Back-to-back speaking to that many people?
Yeah.
Doesn't it become laborious?
No, it's a blessing. It's an absolute blessing.
Really? That's refreshing to hear.
Sounds like you're
I
slacking.
hate, yeah. I'm not going to lie. 2 or 3 is enough for me in the day.
1 hour on, 2 hours off kind of girl.
Yeah, kind of girl. I mean, yeah, I just, meetings are draining. But I mean, I'm not having to like do presentations or anything. So I guess I shouldn't really complain. What about outside of work? What do you like to do for fun? Obviously, I do see that you spend a lot of time with your kids. You do like to travel as well. Spend a lot of time with your wife, which is great because, you know, it must be hard to keep sometimes a good marriage when you're always working, as we all know, as people love to tweet me about. But what do you like to do in like Dean time?
Just spend time with my family and friends. You know, it's almost dangerous because I stay in my social bubble so much. Like recently, it was my one of my best friends' 40th birthday.
Oh,
we put on a big bash for him, and it's like 200 people that we know that we've been seeing for years that we've grown up with. I love doing those kind of things, and I love to travel as well. One good thing about work and, you know, this position is where I'm able to travel to and how I'm able to travel and how I'm able to holiday. So that's, yeah, that is a nice perk.
Yeah. Villas only. I repeat, villas only. So growing up, I really would love to know a bit about who inspired you. Who did you look up to growing up?
Ian Wright.
Really?
Yeah, because he's from the same kind of area as we are. You know, but when I look back, there wasn't really that many people. Maybe musically the odd person, but there wasn't really that many people. When I got into corporate world, I found different CEOs that I followed and books that I read.
And looked up to. Have you read Rich Dad Poor Dad?
I have. Yeah, you read that?
2 chapters. How did you find it?
Yeah, I love it. That's a good kind of life lesson for how to pass down generational wealth. Yeah, I like that.
I love that. Honestly, if you're not writing notes, you're missing out. So let's talk about imposter syndrome, because I feel like the society has built us up to think that we can't get to those positions of power if we're people of color. So how do you have done that, point blank period. How do you overcome imposter syndrome though? Have there ever been times where you feel like, I can't do this, I can't win this pitch, I can't, self-doubt?
Often, a lot of the time, you know. And I remember selling the second company I ever sold, and we sold that company to American Express, and the chairman of American Express at the time was like, you know, shouting at me, telling me he's never going to buy this company and this is a terrible company anyway, and he's not even sure why we're in the room negotiating this deal, and this is a complete waste of his time. And yeah, you're in pressure situations like that with a lot of money personally and for the company on the line. Of course, you like look at yourself and you doubt yourself for a minute, but this is what I'm saying, the upbringing and where we're from. You know, this bozo shouting at me is nothing compared to what we saw growing up, what we had to go through growing up, what we lived through growing up. So you just kind of power through it. And I like the imposter syndrome because it just means people, including me, aren't sure if I can do this. So it's time to get to work, right, and prove everybody wrong. I love that. And
you've done that already. Can you Zanku, Dean?
What's Zanku?
For those who don't know, he just looked at his team and was like, what's Zanku?
What's Zanku?
Team, we're going to help him out. I got you there. The Nigerians right now are screaming. Let's talk about lifestyle, because, you know, with hard work comes great rewards. Now, I was reading your Wikipedia page. That's what I'm going to say.
Oh, wow. What does it say? I don't even know what it says.
Well, it just says that you're a CEO and all the other accolades, but it also talks about your net worth coming into the M's. And for those who don't know my ghetto slang, millions. So, you know, we are in the presence of someone who's earned a fair amount of money, we will say. You're financially comfortable, we'll say that.
I'm paying all of my direct debits on time.
Exactly that. The energy bills are being paid.
They're being covered.
So tell us a bit about how your life has changed, obviously, since selling the business. You said, obviously, when you made your first deal, really impacted your family and yourselves' life. because of the shmoney and other things, as we know. What's one of been one of the best things now about what you've done and how you're enjoying the successes of your hard work?
I don't know. We bought a nice house.
Oh, nice.
We got a nice house.
In the suburbs? Are you suburban?
Yeah, we're in the burbs. We're in the burbs now. No, we got a nice house. I love a house.
How many bedrooms?
Very fortunate. 8.
Say it with chest.
8.
8 bedrooms.
The best thing about the house, and my friends know, we got a nightclub in the house. In the
you
basement.
have a club in the house?
There's a nightclub in the
well,
basement.
Well, no, I didn't get the invite, you know. It's all right there.
So it goes off. It goes off in the nightclub.
Oh, so you don't even need to. Saturday night in the town doesn't even need to happen. Everyone just goes to the Forbes house.
No, we start in the garden, and then when it gets cold, we go down in the nightclub. So that's a nice thing. I've been like I enjoy my life. You know, a lot of people work hard, do well, and they want to sit on everything, but we enjoy everything. We enjoy our life.
So what about cars? What's one of your favorite things to spend money on? And I only say that I'm being very stereotypical because you're a man, and I just assume that loads of men with mouth just want cars and watches. So I'm assuming you like your cars?
I do. Yeah, I do.
How many have you got, and what do you like to drive?
To be honest, I had a period where I had I think at one point I had maybe 6 cars at one point.
At a time?
Yeah, and then
friends
of my brothers just used to borrow them, and I'd forget that they had them, and it was just...
Oh,
so
wow.
now I've got 2 cars. I've got one car. I've got a Lamborghini Urus that I drive.
Nice.
And I've got a Mercedes Maybach that I get driven in because it helps me stay productive. That's how I justify it to myself.
Okay.
Yeah, nice Mercedes Maybach. So that's a cool
we
car.
love Maybach music. Yes.
Yeah,
we love that. We love that.
Car.
What's been one of the most memorable items or thing or experience that you have spent a considerable amount of money on, but you don't feel like I shouldn't have spent that? I'm happy I spent that amount.
Me and my wife, we renewed our vows in 2018. Renewed our wedding vows in 2018, and we hired an island off the coast of Belize, island called Graden Island, and the island can only have 5 people on it at any one time.
Oh, wow.
And it's got another island next to it where the staff stay.
Yeah.
So it's just you guys on the island, and the staff come over and do food.
So a separate island for the staff, guys.
So that was
you heard that right.
That was a big. My wife actually did that. That was around my 40th birthday, and we renewed our vows. And my son was my best man, and our daughters were our maid of honor. So that was amazing.
How do you teach kind of hard work into your children? Because I feel like when you're someone who has money and you have kids, it must be hard not to spoil them, because you work hard so you can give them everything, but then obviously you don't want a spoiled brat as a child. So what do you do in your household to kind of instill hard work into your kids?
That's one of the biggest challenges of being a parent for us, that we learned everything. We learned that drive and determination comes from not having. So now we got kids who have. So how do you make them hungry? And the only, I guess, thing that we've been able to do that's worked a little bit is anything our kids want outside of birthday and Christmas, they have to contribute to. So they don't get anything. So if my son wants 20 pairs of trainers, he can have it. He just has to have half of the money for 20 pairs of trainers. So he gets his pocket money, he can do chores, he can do odd jobs, he can save. When he comes with half the money, he can have anything he wants. And we've done that since they were babies. So when they were 4, if we were going to Dubai, we'd say, "Okay, kids, we're going to go to Dubai, so you can't have pocket money for the next 6 weeks. We're going to take 50 pence from each of your pocket money every week," just to condition them to the fact that these things come on the other end of sacrifice. You have to put in order to get out.
Nothing in life is free.
Nothing for free. Even these little rich kids, they don't get nothing for free. I don't even like them sometimes because they're too privileged. Their life's too easy compared to mine.
Love that. I feel like how is it? I'd love to know. This is just a kind of personal question for me, but obviously in what you do, you obviously find yourself in different groups of people, different calibers, different classes of people. How do you manage to, or what's it like when you're in those dinner parties? Those forced dinner parties that you got to do when you got to sweet talk the one you want to picture and things it seems so soul draining sometimes, but how do you work a room in that environment?
It's different now. It's different now. At the beginning of my career, I really had to work hard at that and do my research, and you have to talk to the person in a way that they're going to feel comfortable. Now it's different, and it's fashionable to, be in those rooms nowadays. being kind of who I am. So it's nice. It's nice now to go into the room, just be myself. 10 years ago, I couldn't be myself, but now I can just turn up in my trainers and my jeans and hoodie, and everybody's fine with it.
Really?
It's been a lot, but that's been a long journey.
Yeah.
Can't do that at the start.
Because I can imagine you're instantly judged just on your appearance in those sort of demographics.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Not as much now. I don't know. I don't notice it anymore. At the beginning, yeah, for sure. But now, you know, it's different. You go into the room with a bit of a reputation, and people, you know, people know. That's why the success and everything is helpful, because now when I show up, people kind of know what they're dealing with, so I don't have to deal with that anymore.
Okay, so it's people offering you the water and want to do this for you and that for you, not you having to stand and wait and ask.
That's why we climb this hard and work this hard over these years.
That. Right? And this is why we're celebrating Dean. What's your go-to rhythm? Okay, you've had a long day. You've had those back-to-back meetings that you don't seem to take a break in because you're clearly just a psycho. But what's your kind of go-to rhythm? Any rhythm. It could be 70s, 80s, 90s, I don't know, 2020s. What's your go-to rhythm?
I'm a Jay-Z fan. That's kind of my generation a little bit. Yeah, I'm a big Jay-Z fan. J. Cole, big J. Cole fan.
Okay.
But then, you know, you got to get into gigs. He's from where I'm from.
Of course.
See a lot of myself in him. So, you know, big gigs, Skepta.
Okay.
So that kind of generation.
So you like your rap?
Yeah, big rap fan. Bit of bashment as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Don't start. Play Sensia sound effect. Woy. Okay, so what's been your favorite kind of turn up rhythm to you? See, like you and wifey are out. It's date night. The kids are being looked after. Little bit of that bashment comes on. Obviously, you guys are Caribbean, right?
Yeah.
So you already know what it's like at the cookouts.
Yeah.
What's that kind of them bashment dancehall feeling? What gets you in your vibe?
I don't know. Bashment. Yeah, it's probably going to end up with a bit of buju or sizzler.
As in boom bye bye.
No, we would never say that. No, you're gonna get me killed. Bit of buju, driver. Yeah, if that comes on, we're getting into it. Or cranium.
Really, cranium?
Yeah. Was it gal policy?
Oh my God! You know rhythms. I respect it.
Oh, come on, man.
I respect it.
What do you think was happening?
What do you think of the new music now? Because I feel like new music is so different from old school music. Like, what do your kids play you? Because your kids are quite young, right?
14 and 15.
Yeah, exactly. That perfect TikTok dance age. So, what do you think of the songs that they come to with you now? The NBA YoungBoy and.
You know, it's just not. It's not my taste. Like some of it is my taste, but it's just not my taste. My son's into is it K-trap?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he's into K-trap.
Man went on the floor and door.
I see him really getting into it.
You into the drill scene?
Not drill, but you know what I love? I love seeing this new crop of UK like hip hop artists that are coming up. Dave, Stormzy, Kano set pace for them a little while ago. I love seeing them like doing well. Skepta, Krypton, Conan. I'm just loving seeing them grow and prosper. It's wicked, man. Love it.
Yeah. If Crep's listening, you know, you got a potential Nala's baby collab over here.
Yeah, big fans. I'm big fans of all of them guys. I love seeing them win like that.
I love that. So what is next for you? Because you've got so many things you're doing. You've got your companies that you're running. You've got Forbes Family Group. Tell us what's next.
So we're working on a platform at the moment, a platform called Cap Table, which is a content platform that we're going to put on YouTube. Because we were trying to buy Channel 4, like since April, I was working with some people trying to buy Channel 4 because I just think
blowing up Twitter.
It's a great,
may I say?
Great platform that we wanted to kind of take on to the next level. We weren't successful in that bid, so we said, okay, everything we intended to do on Channel 4, we'll just do it ourselves. So we kind of came up with this idea. Cap Table is a platform where we're going to put a lot of like business, entertainment type content where people can learn a bit about business and a bit of financial literacy, but in an entertaining way, not just giving people lessons, but through some shows that will hopefully entertain people. And give people opportunity to produce stuff, to come to us, and if they've got a great idea, we can commission it and put it on the platform, and hopefully we can put some good content together that everybody can make some money from.
I love that. Always trying to lift up other people, make other people win. A true leader. I absolutely love that. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show, honestly. I feel like this interview's been well overdue, and I'm so happy to be here with yourself and dropping all the gems. I want to ask, before I let you go, because I know you have a busy schedule, but I want to ask, what kind of words of advice / encouragement can you give to any young listener right now who is maybe stuck in they don't think they can get into tech or even in the corporate world because of where they're from? Can you give us some advice on what to do, essentially?
The first thing I would say is you got to be disciplined, right? So you may not have to be the smartest person, you may not have to be educated in the topic, but you have to be disciplined and committed and be prepared to work hard. And then you got to like shoot your shot, right? If you want an opportunity, you got to be prepared to go and ask for it. And if you get told no, you got to be prepared to go somewhere else and ask again, and go somewhere else and, you know, ask again. I think sometimes young people aren't resilient enough and ready to put the yards in, you know, to get the outcomes that they want. So the thing I would say is where we're from doesn't mean anything. It absolutely doesn't mean anything. How much hard work you're willing to put in and how disciplined you're ready to be means much more. So get that part right, then go knock on some doors, because where we're from, people can't say no to us too many times.
Oh, I love that. And we're going to leave that right there. That's the sounds of Dean Forbes. Dean, shout yourself out. Where can we follow you? Or Forbes Family Group? Plug.
Forbes Family Group on Instagram. It's not my personal account, but I pop up on there every now and then. But I am on Twitter. So Dean Forbes, I think Dean Forbes. I think that's it. Yeah, Dean Forbes on Twitter.
For the haters that are going to ask, because I know they will, is your name actually Forbes because you knew you was going to be wealthy and successful, or did you change it mid sign my first million and then I thought, yeah, my name's Dean Forbes now?
They took the name from me. No,
I love it.
That is my name.
Thank you so much, Dean.